All right, you guys, this video is going to be about how to take this project, which does all of the drawing in the JPanel, which doesn't use object-oriented programming, right? So we've got the main runner, which just makes a JFrame and a JPanel, and then inside the paint component, I just drew everything, right here. Made the color, set the color, draw, and I drew this nice picture over here, okay? So I've got a little bird, I've got a cloud, I've got a sun, a tree, and then the background. So those are my 5 objects that are semi-complex. So all of them are made of more than one drawing, right? The background is the blue and the green. The tree is a circle and a rectangle. The sun's 2 circles, so on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is split this up to use good object-oriented programming so that each of these, the tree is its own object that keeps track of its own position. What that allows us to do now is maybe we want to quickly instantiate more than one tree, maybe a whole forest. Then maybe we want to start an animation where we move those, right? Maybe your character's walking and the forest is scrolling by. Maybe even we instantiate different rows of trees, the ones in the back being smaller and further away, and as we move, they move at different speeds, giving us like a parallax effect. So all of these things are much more possible when you have your own classes. Otherwise, it's a crazy amount of coding in here to try and make that work. So instead, let's break everything up so it's its own object, keeping track of its own position, okay? All right, so let's get started. In here in the paint component, the first thing I did was draw the sky and the grass. So that's going to be my background, okay? So over here, I'm going to add a new file. And by the way, I'm doing this on Replit because I know a lot of you students are doing this on Replit this year. You could absolutely do this on your computer with whatever editor you're using, like Notepad++ or Eclipse or anything. Okay, so I'm going to make a background.java. I'm going to go in there and just make this a public class background. Okay, it's pretty empty. I do want a method in here that draws the background. So I'm going to make a public method that returns nothing. That's called, I can make it draw background. I'm just going to make it draw me. So for each object, I can just call on its draw me method. And all the methods have the same name, okay? So this has to take in a graphics object so it has access to draw. So if we're going to do that, we got to import the graphics library. So over here, the 2 we're going to use is we're going to use color and graphics in our class. So I'm going to go to background, and up at the top before the public class, I'm going to do the color and the background. So this is our generic class, right? Now what we want to do is set up at least variables for the X position and the Y position, okay? Now, you might want more. You might want to be able to change the color. Maybe it's going between night and day. Yeah, or maybe you keep track of the time, right? As like an integer from 0 to 24, and that way you know whether it's roughly, or it could be a float, right? It could be like, oh, it's 1.5, so it's 1:30 in the morning, or it's 13, which would be 1 o'clock. So you could do whatever you want here, but I'm just going to use position, okay? And then we need a constructor, okay? So I'm going to make a public. There's no return type. The constructor has the same name as the class, and it's going to take in, and let's use the this keyword this time. So it's going to take in a local copy of X and a local copy of Y, and we're going to set this.x equal to X and this.y equal to Y. Now, briefly, just to go over that, since I use the same variable name here and here, when I refer to X without any special saying where that X came from, it uses the most specific local copy, which is the one that just got created here. So X alone is talking about this one. And then when I say this, I mean this object, right? So the current instance of the background class. And I say, okay, so set my own X variable. So it's talking about this one for the whole class or the whole object equals. You easily also could have done an underscore here and set the global X equal to the local copy. Okay, so I'll do it in both ways here. That's bad practice. You want to go with consistency, but just to show you it's exactly the same. I can't leave it like that. We got to go with consistency. All right, so here we go. We've got a position. We've got a constructor, and then our draw method. We already did the drawing. We did the hard work, right? So we just go in here, and we just take this, and all we're going to leave here is a comment saying we need to come back and draw the background, okay? So that's what we need to do here. And essentially what's going to look like is a background object dot, we call on DrawMe, and we send it the graphics object. So this graphics object right here that paintComponent's using, think of it like a pen. I'm just going to go ahead and hand the pen to the background. And so that way that background can draw on the same JPanel in paintComponent. All right, so right here, I'm just going to paste these. Notice I use the same graphics G, so I can still use the same G dot over here. Okay, so first I drew the sky, then I drew the grass. Now we want to really keep track of the position here. And so what I need to do is change the X and Y positions relative to this. Okay, so let's pretend, just for here, let's say I want to find the top left and top right. Okay, so the top left here will be the smallest X value. So the smallest X out of 0 and 0 is 0. So the current X position, top left corner, would be X equals 0. And the current Y position would be, what's the smallest Y value here? Either 0 or 400. The smallest Y value would be 0. So the top left corner of my background, no surprise, is 0, 0. That's up here, okay? So I'm going to draw this background at its current position, which will start at 0 and, start at 0, okay? So these are just leaving notes for myself, so later I know that's the starting position, so the drawing will look the same, okay? And then down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this X and Y, and this is X 0. Now, but this one over here is 400. So if Y is 0, I don't want to try and use multiplication because that would actually stretch, right? If you remember your geometry class, if you add, that moves a drawing left, right, up, or down. That's called translating an image. Whereas if you multiply, it actually changes the shape. It distorts it. That's dilation. So that's stretching the X and the Y wider. So what we want to do is figure out how could we add from Y to get to 400. So that's 400 is 0 plus 400, and so that's just Y plus 400, right? If X and Y are 0, 0, then 0, 0 is XY, and 0, 400 becomes X comma Y plus 400. So we didn't change the numbers. If X and Y are 0, we still have this drawing happening at the same place it was before. Okay, so our background class is totally set up now. This is the basics. You have position variables, a constructor that sets them up, and a method that draws it. This is all you're going to do for every single object, okay? We're just going to do that 5 times. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how we use this object, and then I'll go through and just one by one take the objects out. Okay, so in my panel, this is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to say, well, I need a background object to be able to draw. So up top, I'm going to say, let's have, for the whole class, something of the background type. So I'm going to call this BG, okay? That's our background variable. And then I need to instantiate. I need to set it up. I can't do it here because code out here doesn't get run, right? Only the code in the main gets run, and then, whoops, I went to main.class. So in main.java, this is the only code that runs. But look at here. When we instantiate the MyPanel, when we instantiate this class, we're calling on its constructor, that's when we're saying start everything, set everything up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that constructor and I'm going to say, okay, so let's go public, no return, MyPanel. Okay, we could just do the default one, or if you wanted over here, you could like ask the user information. Where do you want the tree, or is it night or day? And then you could send in information like it's nighttime and the tree is at 100. So you could have starting information that you just get from the console using the scanner class. We're going to set it up real basic. So in MyPanel, I'm just going to use the default constructor, and I'm going to say the background object is a new background. I'm calling on a constructor, and remember, all we did was set up the XY position. Okay? So in MyPanel, we set up the position to be X is 0, Y is 0. If I forget the numbers, I go back to background and go, oh yeah, I wrote it here, and I wrote it here. I want the top left corner of my background to be at 0, 0. Okay, let's go back over here. So I make a background object up top. I set it up in the constructor, and now I can use it. So down here, I have my background object, which is BG, and I just call on the DrawMe method. So what I've done is I've taken what used to be in the paint component and made it its own class, which now it can move around, okay? Let's first see if everything's okay. It should draw totally normal. The same lines of code that ran here, still running here. We just have it packaged in a more object-oriented programming way. And look at that, looks exactly the same. But up here, if I say, I actually want the background to get drawn at 50-50, so that means the top left corner of the background will start about here. Let's see if that works now. And this would be really helpful for animation. If we want to move things around, move something to the right, refresh the screen, maybe the bird's flapping its wings. And look at that, we did move the background 50-50, okay? So I'm going to reset that to 0. Background all set up, okay? Now let's do that for the other classes, okay? And all we're going to do here is declare all of our variables. And then here we will set up all of our objects, right? So we're going to instantiate each one by one. All right, so let's set up a tree next, okay? So I'm going to just leave notes here for myself that we are going to draw a tree here, but then I'm going to take all these lines here that actually did the drawing of the tree. So I'm leaving myself a note there. Then I'm going to go over and I'm going to make a tree.java class. Okay, over here I need to import color and graphics. Okay, I don't remember exactly swing or AWT. It's AWT for both of them. Okay, and then here we're going to go public class tree, and then all we need is, again, we go position variables, constructor, draw me method. Okay, that's all we need to set up here in our class, okay? And then inside the draw me, here's the lines that actually draw the tree, okay? So let's set this up. We've got a public method that returns nothing. It is called draw me, that takes in the pen. It's a graphics object called G, okay? And then we end that bracket after the last line. The constructor, that's a public, no return type, and name of the class. It should take in at least a position and set up the position. Okay, and then the position variables at least will go private int x and private int y. Okay, so now we just need to, oh, and we forgot up here. Okay, so we're going to import java.awt.color, and we're going to import java.awt.graphics. Okay, so again, we're using the graphics class right here. That's the pen we're using, and we're using the color class to set up color. So those are the only two things we need. All right, so let's figure out now what the top left of our drawing of the tree is right now. Okay, so x equals, and so we're looking for the smallest x number, 130 or 100. Okay, so x is going to start at 100. And y is going to start out, what's the smallest number for y? 300 or 250. So 250. So just leaving a note for myself. I want x to be 100, and I want this to be 250. Just for the drawing to stay the same, but absolutely we could place this tree wherever we want, okay? So let's set this up. So if x is 100, then this is x, and this is 30 more than x. So this is, right, if x is 100 and we want to write 130, we only use addition or subtraction. Okay, and then if y is 250, well then this is y, and this is y plus 50. Okay, so now we've got our position set up, our constructor. I think we're good, okay? So let's go over to my panel and use it. Okay, so we're going to set up a tree. We're going to go tree, let's call it tree 1, okay, because I'm going to put, believe it or not, more, let's just do it right now. Why talk about it? And I'm going to make 2 trees, okay? And then down here, I have to set both of them up. So tree 1 is a new tree class, and we give it a position. Now I'm going to look back at my tree. I want my original tree to be at 100, 250, okay? So I'm going to go over to my panel. This is at 100, 250, so it looks exactly the same. Okay, and then I'm going to make tree 2 be at the same y value, okay? So the same comma 250, but I want the x value to be different. So where do I want it? I don't know. This was 100 pixels over, maybe like 200, 300, 400s right halfway. Let's do like 500, Okay, what the heck? Let's do 3 trees, okay? So a 500, let's do another one, a tree 3, okay? And this one's at a 600. No, 700. Is that wide enough? Let's see, that's 4, 5. Let's do between 5 and 800, the edge. That's 300. So let's do right in the middle. Let's do like 625. I don't know. We're just making things up here. Okay, so I got a tree about here, a tree about here, a tree a little further along. Now I've got 3 trees. And then down here, I'm going to say draw trees. So I go tree 1. Hey, go ahead and draw yourself. Here's the pen, right? And then tree 2, go ahead and draw yourself. Have some fun with it. Tree 3, just have a blast. Draw me. Okay, so there we go. Again, what we did is we set up a tree object. The reason we declare it out here and not in here is if I write it like this in here, this is a local tree that only exists in the constructor. That would be a bad habit because then when we try and use it in the paint component, it doesn't exist. So if we want to use it in the paint component, and again, like a bad habit is we could literally go tree 1 equals new tree. Like we could do all of this right here. I mean, don't do this. I'm not saying you should, right? And then you could say draw yourself after that. But then we'd be recreating objects every time, not using constructors. We don't want to do that. That's crazy town, okay? So instead, what we do is we say, I'm going to use this tree object in 2 different places. 1 in the constructor when I set it up, and 2 in the paint component when I draw. So if I wanted to exist in both, well then its scope, where it exists, has to be in the entire class. And that's why we declare it up here. We don't set it up. We just say, hey, there's this variable in this class called tree 1. And then when the constructor comes, again, that's always how you set things up. That's when we set up all our variables. And again, that's getting called right here in the main when we say set up the JPanel, right? This constructor right here goes and set them all up. We go back to the My Panel, and we've got 3 trees. Woo, let's see if it works. Fingers crossed. Oh, the adrenaline, the drama, it's getting to me. Okay. Oh, wow. It's a beautiful forest. Okay, we're Bob Rossing it here. Okay, so next we want to do the sun, the cloud, and the bird, okay? So let's just do the exact same thing. It'll get a little quicker here. Let's go next with the sun.java, okay? I don't remember the order I did it in the JPanel. I guess I should just go in that order. Okay, it was the sun next, okay? So I'm going to leave a note for myself saying draw the sun, okay? And I'm going to take these. All right, so I'm going to go over to the sun, and I'm going to import java.awt.color. I'm going to import java.awt.graphics. I'm going to public class sun, and all I need is a private int x and a private int y for position. And then I need my constructor, and then I need my draw me. Okay, so my constructor is public, no return type, class is sun. It's going to take in an x and a y starting position, and then it is going to set the variable x to whatever came in and the variable y to whatever came in. And then down here we're going to go public, return nothing. It's a draw me method that takes in a graphics G. Again, that's the pen. And then we just paste in what we had. Now what we need to figure out is what is the position, right? So the x starts as and the y starts as. Okay, so let's just look. What's the smallest value? So we're looking at the top left. So we have a 650, and I wrote it already set up for myself for later, right? 650 and a 650 plus 15. So the smallest number there is x is at 650. And then the y is 50 or 50 plus 15. So y starts as 50. So again, I'm just leaving my notes here. This should start at 650. And again, you can move the sun wherever you want. I'm just saying, as I'm restructuring this, I don't want to rearrange at the same time. Let's do those separately. Okay, so now let's replace them. So if x is 650, then this is x, and this is x plus 15. If y is 50, then this is y, and this is y plus 15. So now as long as we set the starting values to 650 and 50, our drawing won't change at all. So I'm going to go back over to my JPanel, and I'm going to say, we also have a sun object called sun lowercase. And then down here, we set up the sun to be a new sun class. That is 65050, was that? I don't remember. Okay, let's check. It was 65050. Yeah, we got it. Okay. And then down here, all we do is go sun.drawMe. Okay, so let's run that. We hope that's going to work out. While that's working, we're going to do the cloud next because that just came in order. So let's do cloud.java. Okay, and in there, we're going to import, oh, looking good, java.aoet. And if you want, you could start, you know, like reusing some of this, right? You could just go, here's the first half of the cloud, right? Done. All we need to do is go, this is called a cloud and a cloud, right? Okay, and then we've got a public return nothing drawMe graphics G. And then we just need to, we need to end the class. Okay, and so now all we need to do is go to the My Panel and grab the cloud. Okay, so this is just going to draw the cloud. Let's go to the cloud class. All right, so let's find our X and our Y. So X equals, Y equals, what's the smallest? 350 is X. And then Y is 60. Okay, so that's the top left of our drawing. So here this would be Y is 60, so Y, Y. This would be Y plus 40. I'm just going to copy that because I have the exact same thing here. Okay, and then 350 is our X. So this is X plus 40. This one is X plus 80. Yes, X plus 80. This one is 350 plus 20. And this is 350 plus 60. Okay, so everything should be set up the right way as long as we do a 350 and a 60 here. Then we'll have the cloud looking right where it was, okay? So 350 and 60. Let's go to our My Panel, set that up. So we've got a cloud. And I would later put in 2 clouds. There's not really enough room. I don't want to overlap with the bird. You know what? Let's draw it right behind the bird. The bird can be in front of the cloud, okay? So let's have a cloud 1 and a cloud 2. Let's set up both. So let's say cloud 1 is a new cloud at 350, 60, I think. Okay, and then let's set up the same thing. So cloud 2, though, isn't going to go to 350. Let's say it's at 150. Okay, so now we've got 2 clouds, same height. Just one will be kind of over here by the bird because instead of going x350, we'll only go in x150. Let's even say 120. All right, so we got our 2 clouds. So down here we just draw the cloud. So cloud 1 dot drawMe, hand it the pen. Cloud 2 dot drawMe, hand it the pen. All right, let's check it out. Well, I'm excited. Is that bird going to look good for that cloud, or is it just going to look terrible? Oh, yeah, it doesn't look so good. Let's move it. We'll move the bird, actually. We'll just, how about, I like those 2 clouds. We'll move the bird over and down a little, so it's like right here. No, let's move the bird like down here. Okay, we'll do that later. All right, so let's make our bird class. So bird.java. All right, and I'm just going to take, again, like a lot of the sun, I'll just start with all this, and I'll just throw it in the bird class, right? So all we need to do is say, well, this is a bird class. So the constructor is obviously called bird. We're going to have different starting values for there. We're going to have different starting values for here, but otherwise it's the same. So we end that method, and we end the class, and we're all set up here. Okay, so let's go to My Panel. Let's grab the lines that draw the bird. Okay, and I'll just leave a little note for myself that we're going to draw the bird. Okay, and then we go into the bird class, and here we go. So notice I'm setting it to black. I'm not creating a new color. I'm using the one of the constants that comes with the color class. I think there's like 12 or 13 default colors. Okay, so the X and Y position, so this goes in order. This goes XY position, width height of the circle. So essentially what this is doing is it's making a rectangle first. So it's saying starting at a position, draw a rectangle. Okay, so there's a box. And then it says fill that box. Oh, maybe I should do this in a Google drawing, just show you what's happening. Okay, so let's make a new Google drawing really quick. Okay, so what it does first is it says, okay, so draw this where up at the top left, this is X, comma, Y position. And then this is the width. And this is the height. Okay, this is really good art so far, you guys. I like it. And then they say, okay, so that's the first 4 numbers there, right? You got X, Y, width, height. And then the last 2 are simply saying, so after we take a circle and we say, I'm going to draw a circle inside this box. So starting at the top left corner, going to the bottom right. So this is the oval that's filling that. It simply says, if we start at 0 degrees here, and then go, this is mathematically, that's where the 0 is, like in calculus and trigonometry. And then usually you'd be using radians, but we're using degrees. I don't know why. And so up here, we do 90 degrees, and then it goes 180 over here and 270 and keeps going. So what this does is it takes in 2 numbers. It says, where should we start? And then how many degrees should we go from there? So what I say is start at 60. Okay, so 60 is somewhere right over here. And then, whoops. And then it says, how many degrees should you go? I say go 60. And so it ends up stopping over here because it goes 30 degrees to 90, 30 more degrees. So that's what my 60-60 says there. It says, like, here's the left circle, this black circle. It says go from the right 0 degrees, go 60. And then that's your start, and then go 60, and that's your finish, okay? So that's kind of what's going on. It draws the arc from here to here of this circle, given X, Y, width, height, and starting 60, and 60 is the length. Whew! Okay, so that's what the draw arc method does. All right, but all I got to do is look for what's the top left of my arc, what's its position. And if I wanted, I could calculate what's this middle point here. It would take a square root of 3 to kind of equilateral triangle, go halfway over, find the altitude. But I don't care. I'm just going to stick with what's the XY that got passed into the arc. And so the arc here says we're starting the top left corner at 100, 100, right? That's the smallest X and the smallest Y. So this becomes XY, and this becomes X plus 50 and Y. Okay, so there's our 2 arcs that draw our bird. They're correctly using the position. So now I should just be able to, instead of drawing it at 100, 100, I should be able to shift it over more to, like, I don't know, give or take, this would be 400. So maybe like 300 or 250 or something. And then if I want it, this was at 100Y, maybe I want it like 200, 250. So let's go 300, 250. Okay, that's what I'm going to try. Just to start here. Okay, so I can get rid of this. Those are old notes that I don't need anymore. And so I go to my JPanel, and I say, okay, so I've got an object of the bird class. It's bird, shoot, let's make 2 birds also. I mean, look, it's so easy now, right? So bird 1 is a new bird. That's at 300, 250. And let's do another bird like right below and to the side. So bird 2 is just, let's say at 350 and, no, let's not even go 50. Let's say 330 and 280. Okay, so just 30 pixels to right and 30 pixels below. Let's see how that works out, okay? So here we'll say bird1 dot draw me, and we hand it the pen, and bird2 dot draw me, and we hand it the pen. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it, and hopefully my 2 birds end up kind of right in the middle there. We'll see what this looks like. There we go. Look at those amazing birds. All right, so what I did is I took that starting project, and I'll link to both the starting project, and then I forked it. And so I have kind of a before and after, and I'll show you those, and that way you can just, for yourself, kind of see how I copied and pasted the drawing just into that draw me method, and I made that blank class, right? And if I wanted to, I could kind of make just like a blank.java that just kind of sets it up for me. So it's import java.awt.color, import java.awt.graphics. We make the public class blank. And then here we go. We have a private int x, a private int y, a public constructor called blank that takes in an x, takes in a y. I'm just doing this one more time so you can see that you can create this yourself and even just have this as a template for yourself. What the heck? Why did I set x to y? That's crazy. Okay, and then a public return nothing that just draws it. So draw me, take in a graphics G, and then we'll do nothing here. Okay, so this is just a blank class. It won't cause any errors, but I'm not actually using it. So that's okay. So just to show you that doesn't cause any errors. So the blank is just there as maybe like a template for you, you know, to see that constructor that sets up position and maybe other colors, things like that. And just we've got position variables here, and then the method to draw object. Okay. Oh, now that was great timing. And then the project stopped drawing at the end when I made that amazing blank. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. The next video is going to be taking this sample project and turning it into an animation. So it doesn't add that many lines of code, but once we've got a really good structure of the classes, it's super easy to change because we already have the position of everything. Like the position of this cloud is XY. I could just add one to the X and all of a sudden the cloud is now moving, as long as I have a way to say change, wait, redraw screen. And those are the only things I need, because if I change it super fast with no wait time, it's too fast for human eyes to handle and it's just blah, like flickering everywhere. So we need to wait, slow it down to maybe like 60 hertz. That means like 60 frames a second. And so if I could slow it down to where I'm waiting about a 60th of a second, that's like 10 or 20 milliseconds. So if I slow it down and say, okay, so wait 10 to 20 milliseconds, change anything, and then redraw the screen. And then I do that. Now 60 frames later, a second has passed, and I've watched a journey. I've watched something travel across the screen. So that's where we're going next from here. All right, hope you enjoyed the video.